Does anyone have any idea on how to introduce the Industrial Revolution?
I got you, fam.
These young children are being forced to work in fields to support their families. In the mid-1700s, this was the life of a typical British child. Then, towards the end of the 1800s, free public education for 12 years was the norm.
What is this? It looks like a cabbage, man. What am I supposed to do?
What brought about this revolutionary idea? Why a revolution, of course. In the 1700s, most of the British countryside was made of farms owned by poor landowners.
I have a notice of purchase to buy this land.
Wealthy landowners began buying up the small farms, sometimes buying out whole villages. These large landowners started closing up their lands, and because of landholding and money, they could experiment on the land. These enclosures became places where the biggest advancements of agriculture were made. For instance, crop rotation, seed drills, and more effective livestock breeding. The agricultural and textile industry were the first to be transformed by the Industrial Revolution. One invention led to another. In 1733, John Kay invented the flying shuttle, which could double the work that a weaver could do in a day. Around 1764, James Hargreaves invented the spinning jenny that could allow one spinner to work 8 threads at a time. The spinning jenny and the water frame invented in 1769 were combined by Samuel Crompton to create the spinning mule. The spinning mule made thread that was stronger, finer, and more consistent than earlier spinning machines. In 1787, Edmund Cartwright's power loom sped up weaving since it was ran by water power. In 1793, an American inventor named Eli Whitney invented a machine to speed up the process of removing seeds from raw cotton. American cotton production skyrocketed from 1.5 million pounds in 1790 to 85 million pounds in 1810. The textile movement inspired other industry improvements such as transportation. An example is the Watt steam engine, which worked faster and burned less fuel than conventional steam engines. The steam engine helped inspire the construction of a steamboat. The first steamboat, called the Claremont, was invented by Robert Fulton and made its first successful trip in 1807. In addition, British roads were also improved thanks to John McAdams. In the 1800s, McAdam equipped roadbeds with a large layer of stones for drainage, with a carefully smoothed layer of crushed rock on top. Even in rainy weather, heavy wagons could travel over the new McAdam roads without sinking in the mud. Another important invention was the railroad, which spurred industrial growth, created new jobs, and boosted England's agricultural and fishing industries. There were many consequences of industrialization, such as dirty, unsanitary, and dangerous factories, harsh discipline from factory bosses, overworked and underpaid workers, resent from the upper class and lower class to the middle class. Urban areas became overpopulated, lack of unsanitary codes in cities, scarcity of housing, drainage, and social services, and epidemics. After these results of the industrialization began to get the attention of the people, workers were finally able to get better working conditions, higher wages, and shorter hours. The standard of living was improved, and suburbs grew as people fled crowded cities. In industrialized countries in the 19th century, the Industrial Revolution opened a wide gap between the rich and the poor. Business leaders believed that governments should stay out of business and economic affairs. Reformers, however, felt that governments needed to play an active role in improving conditions for the poor. Different economic systems emerged, such as capitalism, socialism, and utilitarianism. This also gave way to Marxism, coined by Karl Marx. Marxism was a radical type of socialism in which Marx believed that a capitalist system would eventually destroy itself. Factories would drive small artisans out of business, the working class would revolt, and workers would control the government. The final stage of Marxism was called pure communism, which all means of production, lands, mines, factories, railroads, and businesses would be owned by the people.
Oppressor and oppressed, stood in constant opposition to each other. Carry on an uninterrupted, now hidden, now open fight. A fight that each time ended either in revolutionary reconstruction of the society at large or the common ruin of the contending classes.
The Industrial Revolution took roots in England due to its many resources, wealth, and people. It brought many changes to people's lifestyles, which include negative and positive effects. These effects include child labor, filthy living standards, creation of new jobs, and rising of a middle class in society. The industrialization also inspired many changes in improvement in transportation, textile machinery, agricultural methods and machinery, and the building of more railroads and roads for transportation. In the Industrial Revolution spread, it built a gap between two social classes, middle and low class. This led to belief of capitalism from the middle class and socialism from the lower class. In the end, the Industrial Revolution began to produce positive effects, such as laws that prevented children in gender age groups from working too much, public education, higher wages, better working conditions, shorter hours, and benefits for everyone. Industrial Revolution.